Hey everyone, today is July 7th, 2023, and today's temperature is about 92 degrees. So you just saw that time lapse. This camera is still active and still going. It was making a 5-second clip every 30 minutes since we planted this garden. That was a little bit too much, so in editing I only used every third clip in that video. Now it's reprogrammed to only make a 5-second video clip every 6 hours. And we will let this thing probably go until the end of September when the frost is likely to kill off the garden. Maybe we'll get lucky and go into October a bit. So I decided for the potent sun, I'm just leaving that shade up. In the morning, that's where the sun is coming from. So that keeps it a little bit shaded there for now. The electric fence is active. Around the perimeter here, you see Vinegar did a good job. Only a couple things started coming back. We had to do that around the edge so the electric fence doesn't get shorted out, especially when the grass is wet that is touching it. I have a bag right here because I just fed my tadpoles some romaine lettuce from the store. We're gonna go in here and we gotta thin out some of this lettuce. I gotta be careful here, especially wearing shorts. Be very careful not to touch the electrified fence. All right, so I forget which it is. I believe this is called Black Simpson seed lettuce. This grows in heads, which you can already start to see. I'm gonna come in here right now and see how these are kind of close. I'm gonna pick a whole bunch of these so they don't overcrowd now that they're starting to get bigger. This is a leaf lettuce. These can stay kind of close. Maybe I'll take a few of them. Even though this is small, I can weed it out a bit. I'm going to put it in this bag and put it in the freezer, which destroys structural integrity of lettuce, so tadpoles can eat it. When you take it out of the freezer, you can just crumple it in the bag and it shatters into little flakes and it instantly turns to mush when it hits water. These are marigolds, which will start blooming at some point throughout the summer. So yeah, we'll probably thin a little of this out. I'll have a little salad myself with it tonight. The corn did very well. Only a couple stalks didn't come up, I believe. 2 of them didn't come up. 1 of them died. This one's being attacked by some insect, but we'll probably come in here again with the 7 chemical, which you spray on all the leaves. It dries and is then waterproof. Just don't get it in the ground, and there's no worry about that. Slugs were a massive issue, but slug pellets around the perimeter every couple weeks took care of it marvelously. Except over here, the couple plants I have in pots, they did pretty bad over there because in the woods, the slugs just keep coming and coming. There's nothing to stop them from just wreaking havoc. These, I'm probably going to have to kill off some of them, or maybe I'll kill off a certain area and see how it does in a big patch. This right here is all of my broccoli. Right here we have a few random carrots, but we'll leave them there in that open area. These are all carrots. They don't seem to be that close together, so we'll probably leave them. A couple marigolds. You see seeds get blown around a couple accidental spots. These are all marigolds. There was supposed to be a huge row, but something happened there, probably trampling them. This is an aspen tree starting to grow. These are potatoes. Potatoes in the fall, we'll dig them up and see what we got underneath there. The strawberry plant was mostly destroyed by slugs before we were able to put the slug pellets down, and I think it's done growing them for the year. Lots of carrots. Right here, a couple cucumber plants. Right here are our onion plants, right here. I can smell that on my fingers. Right here are 2 zucchini plants. This right here is 3 separate cucumber plants. I'll let them fill in this area. I'll let that one grow outside the fence, and I just won't mow wherever it goes. The slugs completely killed just 1 of them. These are sunflowers. I don't even think I'm gonna weed them out. When they get taller, I'll just keep securing them to this fence. This is not electrified, just the cables on the outside. Right here are our Morrow Globe tomatoes. I came in here every now and then to remove suckers, which are this little bit right here that grows in every joint like an armpit. You remove them and it can put more nutrients towards the plant. A few suckers are actually okay. In here you see the marigolds. Some of them are stunted after being very defoliated by the slug. You see a lot of these have flowers, which means the tomatoes will be on their way. Maybe in like a month we'll have a bunch of tomatoes. See, this sucker here actually got pretty big, but every now and then it's okay to leave one. Just drop it on the ground and it can rot. Yeah, see, here's one. That sucker got really big. I'm probably just gonna leave it because of that. No sign of tomato hornworms yet. So these 8 plants are Marrow Globe. And I also have to come in here and do some deadheading. The garden is very little maintenance. We spent about 2 entire days in the spring planting, prepping, tilling with a hoe, and since then I have come in here just a couple of times for like 20 minutes at a time. Look at the welding came undone on that one. Yeah, very minimal maintenance. Since I actually planted everything 2 months ago, I've probably spent less than an hour in here maintenance. Suckers aren't that bad, but obviously I missed a few of them. These 8 tomatoes here are Big Beef. Those are the really big ones. I don't see any flowers on them yet. The sprinkler we have set up to a timer from when I'm away. It will turn on for 20 minutes a night. I originally had it set to an hour. We don't have city water, we have well water. And because it happened over a very long time, I didn't even notice the filter in the well was getting clogged. Now that I unclogged it, the water pressure's awesome. That's why I reduced it from an hour to 20 minutes, which is adequate. Sprinkler timer now, most of this month has been off because it's been just raining so often. It's supposed to rain, there's a chance almost every day this week. These 8 tomatoes here are cherry tomatoes, except you can see the leaves are obviously different. I think one died, and that might be a Marrow Globe we just threw in there to replace it. And yes, we already went through, a couple of them had 2 seeds, 2 plants, doubles. We already killed, I think, most of the doubles. Maybe I left a few of them, but I think we killed most of them so they wouldn't take nutrients from each other. Early on, I accidentally planted 2 pepper plants. That one died. This one's doing all right. I don't know if it's, I think it's a bell pepper, maybe it's a hot pepper. This was a store-bought yellow tomato plant, the only one we have. This is a homegrown cherry tomato. See, it's already got some that we'll probably be able to eat pretty soon. I have a couple store-bought ones that are in pots right outside my back door. I actually got my first 2 tomatoes, but I can't technically say I grew them. I just took care of them for a while after buying them as a little 6-inch plant. But now those ones by my door are almost to the top of the cages already. But those were the first thing I got to eat from the garden this year. So the big garden here is doing pretty well. And in a upcoming video on my post 10-second channel, I weed out a little of that, freeze it, and we'll have some of that with the tadpoles coming up soon. Over here is my little stockpile in case I want to add anything. You see they're kind of rotting because the slugs don't come in this one pot for some reason, but they're devastating over here. See the slugs? They defoliated. They killed actually most of the marigolds, which are a natural insecticide, but a slug is not an insect. So insecticides like 7 will not kill slugs. I learned that the hard way. In fact, it may have actually attracted them, although I have no proof of that. So you have to buy slug pellets, which are supposedly harmless to anything else other than slugs and snails. There's a tiny little plant there that's very stunted, zucchini, and the marigold protecting it was killed by the slugs. These are actually bouncing back a little bit, pretty well. That big hose was intended to hook up to the manual pump well to go over here. I also have a bunch of watering cans I was using over there to water that, but we haven't had to water anything in like a month. We've had enough rain. It's been raining almost every day. I'll clean this big bowl. I'm gonna move the whole bowl and mow all this down and make it look nice. I'm gonna probably mow the lawn in like 2 weeks. I let it grow really long here in the country before we do anything. It attracts animals, and I have like a giant part of the yard I don't mow at all this time of year because of wild strawberries and stuff that attract animals. This thing right here I actually want to kill. See that tree right there? It's most likely the native kind, not the Chinese one that kind of looks like it, but it's still invasive, and I'm gonna kill it off. Those have been popping up in the yard for some reason. I don't know how their seeds got here. What's that thing called? I forget. You see, walking around, these are all wild strawberries. But when you have a big area like this that you just let grow really long, they can actually produce the strawberries down inside. Animals may have ate them all, but I'm sure I'll be able to find something to show you guys. They seem to do better when they're in the shade for some reason, even though they're strawberries. But right over here, if we walk back into the mowed area, this garden didn't do that well. And you see it's still very moist underneath there, so water's not the problem. They're just stunted. I think it's too hot. The hot pepper plants, I don't think will get any crop since something's also been eating them as they're struggling. Bell peppers have some buds and looks like teeny ones starting. We might get some bell peppers. The bean plant, look, we already got a few, no, not beans, pea pods are already growing. This pea plant grew one, but it's gonna die. Everything looks like it's gonna die. I think the sun is just way too potent out here, or we gotta water it more. So right here, this is a store-bought black raspberry plant. No, that's blackberry. We have black raspberries in the yard. Pretty soon we'll have some, although they don't look like they'll be that great. Maybe the bush will do better next year. That's a perennial. This is also a perennial. This will keep coming back, the rhubarb. Stalks are kind of small this year. Hopefully next year it comes in more beefy. You see I had this one tomato plant dangling over. Who knows if it'll survive. I thought it was going to be more of like a topsy-turvy out the side, if you know what that is. It's an upside down pot where you don't need a cage. It just goes below it. This is all slug damage. We're not putting the pesticides. Actually, no, I put them in the pots. We didn't put the pesticide down here because this was an experimental area. I threw all my seeds. It looks like the slugs have basically killed off all the lettuce. There was hundreds of sprouts, but no more. These are either cucumber, zucchini, pumpkin, watermelon, something like that. I bought a bunch of mint, which takes over and it smells so good. These are marigolds, I believe. You see, look at the runners it sends out. This is very sandy soil, if you remember. I just put a small coating of good peat moss over the top to hold moisture, and it's doing its job well. It's only like ½ an inch on top of basically pure sand. These runners will stretch everywhere. This mint will be everywhere. It smells so good. And also a cactus is doing pretty good. It's definitely showing growth. That's a cactus that can survive the winter. I don't know what this bush is, but I thought it was kind of cool. Found it next to a pond, and it started growing. I brought it here because it seemed to like sandy areas. Here's another mint plant I bought at the store this year. It doesn't seem to have any offshoots yet. These are some of my own mint. It started growing out of control in one spot, so I brought it over here. And it wilted like crazy, but then it started perking up again. But look at all this slime. The slugs are attacking the mint. It's usually a natural insecticide, but not to a slug. They're basically destroying all the mint right here. So yeah, oh my gosh, it's one of our baby frogs that we raised. They're everywhere. We got hundreds of little baby frogs around the yard. If you saw my tadpole rescue videos, they all basically are turning into frogs. Yeah, all the lettuce is just gone. The slugs just ate it in the area where we didn't use slug pellets. So yeah, my main garden would be devastated if it wasn't for that. At least the slugs don't seem to like potatoes. The potatoes are flowering. Hopefully we'll have a good crop there. All the lettuce that started sprouting here was killed by them. They don't seem to, oh, you know, I forgot, they ate it over in the main garden. They'll probably go after and start attacking this stuff also. So this was just an experimental garden. That's why I also threw down grass seed. This area can just grow in and be part of the lawn again, or eventually the forest, because I'm not going to mow it. And we got some blackberries back here. We actually have so many blackberries. Look at this big patch I have right here. So many blackberries. Huge patch of them going all the way through here. This is a swampy area that these water irises can actually survive. The water table is literally inches below my feet. Like right here, it's going to be squishy. Squishy. That's why I put this down. You see, we walk over here. Now you'd sink down to like your knees. That's why I put this in. That's the literal water table. See that water sitting around this manual well? Every now and then, this dude had to make sure it keeps it primed. Haven't had to use it for watering because it's been raining so much. And this is my gigantic raspberry patch. So we got the giant black raspberry patch. And this is the gigantic raspberry patch. It's the actual blackberries. which we had a shortage of. That's why I bought one. And there's only one wild plant that I know of which grows massive ones in the end of the summer. So typically, raspberries have 2 crops. Last year's growth will grow again in the spring, have an early harvest, then all the stalks completely die off the second year. The new growth will have a harvest in the fall, then again in the spring before it starts dying out again. Does anyone know what could be wrong with my blackberry plant? Why are the leaves shriveling up like that? Anyways, these will be huge when they actually grow. This is my only real blackberry plant, not black raspberry. This one spot, and it doesn't really seem to spread. Right here is a wild blueberry bush I transplanted. See, it's got teeny little ones, and they won't get much bigger than that. They're very small, but we have these throughout the entire forest. The bears like to go in there and eat them. Some people asked me about my peony plant. It had 2 really big flowers, and the rest of the buds all died this year for some reason. Maybe too much rain for the plant. Over here are my big, giant blueberry plants. When these start turning, they will be the size of marbles. Last year, we were able to get almost an entire 5-gallon bucket worth of them. But all these bushes seem to be, over the years, slowly dying. I've tried fertilizing them, putting better soil, better peat moss. Doesn't really seem to be helping. The best thing I've ever done for them seemed to be removing all the dead branches, but they still continue to slowly die, it appears. And one year, we lost the entire harvest because there was little tiny maggots from fruit flies eating them. They're okay to eat, but that's pretty nasty. So that year was a waste. This year, they were sprayed, so we shouldn't have that problem this year. So far, these are my biggest tomato plants. These were store-bought. I actually raised them in the house for the first month, then put them outside. These are the ones I got my first couple tomatoes I was able to eat yesterday. They're surrounded by nice marigolds. The slugs never attacked, but I still occasionally throw some pellets in there. This right here, the hosta's about to start flowering. This right here has a few tomatoes that are about to be ready to eat also. Strawberry plant's a perennial. Maybe that'll start growing things next year. I bought a small Japanese maple about a month ago. It's still surviving well, along with some catmint for cover, hoping it keeps moisture. But when this thing gets big, it'll shade out and probably kill or weaken the catmint. But hostas can be in full sun or full shade. They don't really care. These grow really slow, maybe 1 or 2 feet a year, Japanese maple. Thought that would be a fun thing to have in the yard. Cattails are also growing a lot. I just fed the tadpoles. They're eating a bunch of lettuce. These cattails help purify the water, and see, they sent rhizomes out everywhere. We put a bunch of sediment and their roots are coming through. Most of these tadpoles by now are half frog. A good amount of them came out of the water already, like that little guy you saw over in that garden. Any water source I leave in the yard, we always make sure we have a little ladder or something so bugs and mice, whatever falls in there, can be sure to get out. And I hope today's video was interesting, everybody. Thanks for watching and have a great day.